Event moderator, my fellow speakers and panelists, and fellow professionals from the power sector, and distinguished members of the audience. It was with my suggestion that Captain Vijay Kumar graciously agreed to have this event post the passing of the Shanti Bill by the Indian Parliament. Friends, I will speak from operational experience. I have a 2-decade association with the nuclear power sector. And nuclear power sector cannot be viewed in isolation. It's got an impact bearing on the industry, on the climate initiatives, MSMEs, supply chains, the youth, the skills, the job opportunities, and India's march to a developed nation. I have been chairman TNEB. I have been part of the mining department without a common link to monazite, which is found plentifully in the beach sands of Tamil Nadu. I have been part of the MSME ecosystem for building valuable, consistent, sustainable supply chains. I have been part of the sustainable movement for sustainable manufacturing to ensure that India is able to promote green manufacturing and counter various non-tariff measures like CBAM. Even the recently concluded European Union Indian FTA, CBAM was left out. So if India has to be a power, a sustainable power, then we need energy. Friends, let me start by saluting the vision of the father of atomic energy, nuclear energy, Homi Bhabha. In 1950s, he developed that vision to develop India's civil nuclear power, harnessing the power of thorium. India has got 25% of world's reserves of thorium in beach sands on the coastal regions and some interior regions. He designed and planned the 3-stage nuclear power program, the first stage, the second and third stage. 1974, India conducted its peaceful nuclear explosion. Then came the sanctions. The industry went inwards, developed its own technology in terms of the indigenous pressurized heavy water reactors with very good safety records. Then we had hiatus. Then came the Act of 2008, a landmark partnership between US and India. George Bush, the president of USA, and Dr. Manmohan Singh. The civil nuclear deal 123. Despite India not being a member of the non-proliferation group, we were allowed to access the raw material and technology for nuclear power. Then happened 2010, friends. We passed this CLNDA, Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act, in which there was a provision under which worldwide the operators are held responsible for any accident, but here the operators could take recourse to the suppliers, and that prevented the foreign players from entering. Despite this deal, we did not have any foreign participation in the nuclear power sector. Only exception was the Kodangallur power project, but that was financed by Rosatom, a state PSU. It was exempt from these indemnity issues. 15 years, we could not realize the potential of the US 123 nuclear deal. Then came the issues of climate change, conference parties, issues of sustainability, issues of carbon weight, carbon pricing of the products. If your products are not as per the carbon standards of the developed world, the European Union, there will be an additional tax. What is CBAM? It is cross-border adjustment mechanism. It simply says, if your steel, aluminium, the starting range, if the carbon content, which means the extent of fossil fuel energy used, burning of coal, gas, which contribute to the greenhouse gases and in turn to the climate change, heating of the atmosphere. If the carbon weight of fossil fuels in a product is higher than the standards which we have set, then you have to pay additional tax, and that can be as high as 30%. So if India has to be a manufacturing hub, has to come into the world stage, then sustainable green manufacturing becomes the imperative. India signed the net zero. We are targeted to become a net zero nation by 2070. 50% of our energy capacity today is RE energy in terms of solar and wind. So these are very major developments in the power sector. But that was not sufficient. RE is intermediate in nature. It can be used only in combination with the battery storage, which is very expensive. And it is also has the potential for destabilizing the grid. Friend, Germany, which had 25% of its capacity as nuclear power plants, decommissioned the plants. On a good day, about 74% of the power requirement of Germany can come from RE sources, wind and solar. But if the conditions are not favorable, it can dip to 4%. That will destabilize the grid. We will not have the base load power. Base load power is what is used 24/7, irrespective of the conditions for the RE power. And today, India's 70% base load power is fossil fuels. So if India has to reach its goal of net zero, if India has to reduce the carbon weight of its products, then we need to look at alternative options of base load. Because here, nuclear power comes into play. India is a growing nation. We stand at G20 Committee of Nations. The Human Development Index of an average G20 nation is more than 0.9, which means the average power requirement is per capita is very, very high. Today, India has a per capita requirement of about just 1640 terawatt hours. If we have to reach the standards of G20 nations in next 20 years, by 2047, we will need 25,000 terawatt hours of power. Where will this power come from? How will we improve the HDI, the quality of life of their citizens? The single biggest determinant of mobility in life, development, is power. We have climate change impacting us, massive heat waves across the summer months, which will need huge amount of power to manage them. It is here nuclear power came. And that is where the thought process started in the Indian establishment. And we had the Shanti Act in December 2025. Key word is sustainable harnessing of nuclear energy. For what? Transforming India. Nuclear power is clean power, green power. It's a base load power. It's a dispatchable power. It can stabilize the grid. Worldwide, today, nations have 10% of the energy mix as nuclear power. India, it's only 3%. And the humongous requirement of power by India, which means it should be a minimum of 15%. That is where the goal of 100 gigawatts, 1 lakh megawatts of power by 2047 for nuclear energy. Now, there are naysayers of nuclear energy. The question of safety will always come. Look back at history. 3 major accidents. 3 Mile Island, 1979, USA. 1986, Chernobyl, Russia. And 2011, Fukushima, Japan. Inherently, nuclear energy with proper safeguards is a safe option for any nation. As Captain Vijay was mentioning, and today's our statement by the Government of India says there will be climate finance for nuclear energy. In the Conference of Parties, the annual gathering of all the nations for climate change in COP28, 30 nations committed to develop to triple their nuclear capacity. China has got the maximum number of nuclear reactors under construction, and few years will overtake even USA as the single largest source of nuclear power generation. So quality of life, climate change, grid stability, SDI, all point that India has to harness the power of nuclear energy. Now, how do we go about? This will need partnerships by all stakeholders. Friends, what are resources for us? Our uranium is of not very good quality. The best quality uranium in India is very poor compared to the tailings of uranium from Canada. 40% of uranium is supplied by Russia in the world. So we cannot base our nuclear strategy on uranium. It has to be thorium based. This is where the 3-stage nuclear power program of India comes into play. First stage we have crossed, the pressurized heavy water reactors, where we generate enriched uranium we use and generate plutonium-239. The second stage is under construction, a bit delayed. It is expected, it's called the fast breeder reactor, Bhavani project based in Kalpakam, and in which we generate more uranium or plutonium than what we consume in the reactors. That's why it's called fast breeder reactors. The core loading has happened, and if all goes as planned, by September 2026 it should become operational. And then we'll go in the fleet mode. Fleet mode means same design, fast rollout. And the third stage is we use a combination of plutonium and thorium to generate more of uranium. It's a closed cycle. With that, India becomes self-sufficient. This is the future. It has to be uranium based. Alternatively, friends, this all what I'm speaking is on public domain. You would have heard of a company called Clean Core Technology, founded by Indians in US. Mehul Shah is the CEO. Our former chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, Mr. Anil Kakodkar, is also associated with that. They have come with a fuel called HALO fuel, high SA, low enriched uranium. It's also called Anil fuel. Again, a very good acronym for Advanced Nuclear Energy for Enhancing Life. It's a fuel with high combination of thorium and uranium. If allowed as per the technology and the country-to-country protocols, this fuel has got the potential for revolutionizing our thorium-based nuclear energy by moving past the second stage reactor and going straight to third stage reactor. The fuel is called Anil. A lot of discussions are there. You search, look at the public domain, Google, you'll find a lot of knowledge, views on this Anil fuel. Friends, I had the good fortune of working across 2 departments with a common mineral called monazite. In the B sands of India, particularly Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Orissa, we have the placer sands. In the placer sands, there are several of these minerals, and the key is monazite. Monazite holds the key to India's technological superiority and place in pride of nations as a developed and manufacturing nation. From monazite, you get 60% rare earth oxides and 40% is thorium. These rare earth oxides are used for preparing of rare earth magnets. You have read in the newspapers, the near monopoly of China, 90% of the supply of rare earth magnets is by China. And they are weaponizing this monopoly, dominant position in country-to-country diplomacies. So proper effective use by partnership of all the stakeholders will enable us to harness the power of B sands, monazite, thorium for our nuclear power. Now, as an individual, whether you're a youth, part of the industry, part of civil society, you will have this question. What is in for you in nuclear energy? Friends, first, a citizen of India, Nuclear energy is the way forward as a baseload clean power for developing India. As they say, nuclear energy is the most successful failure of public policy. Technology was never the issue, it is public perception. And how to promote nuclear energy, then we need a very honest discussion among all the stakeholders, the citizens, the benefits, the pros and cons of nuclear energy. The second, with this 100 gigawatt opportunity, there is going to be business opportunity for 15 lakh crores. Localization of supply chains. The Western world has got the technology, not the talent and the manpower. India has got that. So all the manufacturing components will take place in India, not only for Indian market, but for the export market also. This will give huge opportunity for the MSMEs. Specialized components for nuclear energy. Next opportunity is going to be for the youth. It will open up a new arena, huge scope for skilled jobs in this sector. This will give our grid stability and combination of solar, wind, battery storage, hydro, everything. It will position India on the rightful path as the developed nation having its place of pride in the community of nations. Friends, we are in Tamil Nadu. Our Honorable CM has a vision of a 1 trillion economy by 2030. A substantial portion of that has to be from green manufacturing. Any state, any nation aspiring to be a hub has to have green manufacturing, which means less of carbon fuels. As individual units, as industrialists running MSMEs, you have to start looking very seriously at each of your processes. What is the carbon price of my product? Can it sustain in the future? As bankers, as financial institutions, you have to start looking at your portfolio. What you have lent to the MSMEs or industries, is it at risk? Will it sustain over 7, 10, 8 years? Is there sustainability built in these processes? And how do we all contribute to India's march to net zero? As our moderator was mentioning, the chilly climate of Chennai you are experiencing is something linked to climate change. The heat waves, the changing patterns, all is going to impact us. So it cannot be business as usual or what is for me approach. Collectively, all stakeholders, the youth, the civil society, the industry, the academia, think tanks like MMA, professionals, collectively we have to come together for India's journey. And friends, this is India's century. We have the talent, the demography, the intent, the path that by 2047 we are going to be a developed nation where the SDI is going to be on par. SDI, Human Development Index, powered by power consumption, on par with the best of the developed G20 nations. It is here, using this platform, this opportunity, I seek partnerships from all the stakeholders, and let's collectively power India to a developed nation. Thank you and good day.